Hey guys, tonight we ease ourselves into something that might sound innocent at first, but has been whispered about for generations. We're heading into the Appalachian Hills, and all you need to do is listen closely because the sound of a simple whistle or dart could call back more than just an echo. Imagine walking a gravel path, the kind with weeds pushing through its cracks, and your lips purse just a little tune. The night isn't empty. It never is. The mountains hold their breath. And you probably won't survive this skidding, kind of. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I'd also love for you to comment your location and the time where you are, so I know when and where you're braving this story. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You wander into the hush of twilight, a cricket symphony low to the ground, all sharpening the edges of the tree line. There's a saying here, never whistle after dark in the Appalachian Mountains. Folks say it invites attention you don't want, attention that belongs to the unseen, the ones who prefer their names unspoken. Whistling is more than noise, it's a signal. You send it out, and if you're unlucky, someone or something answers back. A curious fact, during the Salem witch trials of the 1690s, testimony was sometimes as small as she hummed to herself at night or he whistled in the fields. Folklorists still argue whether this paranoia was rooted in fear of secret communication or just the suspicion of anyone too cheerful under the moon. Either way, some carried guilt, and guilt carried rope. Your boots scuff along a mountain lane as you think about how sound behaves differently at night. Even modern acoustics experts know how cooler air makes higher notes travel farther, which explains why a sharp whistle can sprint across a valley in ways your own shouting never could. It's practical science, yes, but locals here prefer a different answer. The mountains carry voices for the ones who aren't alive to walk them anymore. You pause, pressed fingers to your lips, and let out a low whistle. It feels silly, just air over teeth. But silence follows. The crickets stop. The owls quiet. The night seems to lean closer, like a librarian shushing you before the story truly begins. And not tidbit floats into your mind. In some ghost towns, especially in Nevada mining camps, people used to claim they could hear phantom work whistles calling miners to shifts long after the town's tide. The sound was so convincing that some travelers swore they saw shadowy men trudging toward shafts that didn't exist anymore. Sound as a memory locked in stone. That thought clings to you now. Branches crack in the woods. Maybe a deer. Maybe not. You're suddenly aware of every whistle-shaped breath your lungs could push out. Your mind drifts to children's games, the way you once whistled to find friends in the dark. That comfort doesn't hold here. In Appalachia, the superstition is older and heavier. Whistling is like ringing a dinner bell. Not for people, but for things you don't want sitting at your table. You chuckle softly. What is a banshee going to our SVP? You mutter. Humor helps a little, but your voice sounds too loud. The mountain air folds it back into your ears in a way that makes you want to shrink. Some say whistling after dark invites witches. Others say it's the dead, restless and curious. A few say it's neither, it's the land itself, testing your nerve, reminding you that these slopes were old before your bloodline ever thought of walking them. Folklorists still argue whether these warnings are morality tales to keep children safe at night, or if they carry echoes of even old rituals imported from Scots-Irish traditions, where whistling was believed to stir up fine mischief. A breeze slides past, cool and damp, and you hear it, a faint whistle in return. Not your note, not even the same pitch, just a sound, thin and curious, sliding out of the trees. You freeze. Your laugh catches in your throat. Maybe it's another hiker. Maybe it's wind through the branches. Maybe. But the rhythm is deliberate. To notes, pause, to notes. Call and response. The same kind of pattern used in Appalachian folk songs when banjos traded phrases across porches. The sort of sound humans make. You whisper, don't answer it, but of course you will. That's how stories start. The old man told you the rules the way someone recites scripture slow, certain, and with that final glance to make sure you're paying attention. You'd found him leaning on a sagging porch rail, whittling a stick of pine into curls that drifted like pale smoke to the floorboards. His hat brim cut his eyes into shadows, but his voice carried clear enough. Never whistle after sundown, not on these roads, not near these hollers, and never if you already hear something else whistling back. The knife rasped. The curls piled up. He didn't smile. In this part of the mountains, folklore isn't decoration, it's survival etiquette. Passed down with the same weight as which mushroom not to eat or which rich trail drops off. Without warning, whizzing is invitation, and he made sure you knew the difference between being neighborly and being reckless. It reminds you of the Victorians and their peculiar house rules, parlors turned into seance, chambers where even a knock on the wall was treated like a telegram from the beyond. Historical fact spiritualist newspapers in the 1850s printed long etiquette columns teaching families how to politely address spirits if they answered back. Folklorists still argue whether those columns were sincere or elaborate hoaxes staged for readers, desperate to keep their dead close. Either way, the Victorian world had its house rules, just like these mountains. Break the rule, the old man muttered, and you don't just hear echoes, you get followed. The knife bit deep, snapping the pine twig in half. He tossed it into a coffee tin at his feet. A pile of broken charms. Maybe every visitor had needed the same warning. You noticed something odd. On his porch, a bundle of red thread nailed above the doorframe. At first it looks decorative, like a child's craft project. But you recognize the pattern. It's a protective knot. You'd once seen the same shape in an Appalachian folkcraft museum. Volunteers explained it was tied to confused spirits, tangling their path before they stepped inside, whether he tied it himself or inherited it from his grandmother. You don't ask. A curious tidbit drifts through your memory. In some coastal towns, fishermen used to forbid whistling aboard boats, claiming it stirred storms. But in Cornish lore, whistling was said to summon favorable winds, contradictions that made you wonder, are these rules local, or is the whole world whispering the same warnings in different dialects? Folklorists still argue whether Appalachian superstition is an isolated mountain invention or a collage of old-world fears carried across the Atlantic. You clear your throat. What happens if someone ignores it? The knife stops. He looks up, finally, and you see one milky eye clouded from age or accident, his other eye sharp. Like a hawk, they get marked, he says simply, and you think about sound again. A whistle is breath shaped into music. A marker, yes, but also a signature. What if your tune is a kind of fingerprint, stamped into the dark where anyone anything could read it? The night is settling in. You can hear coyotes beginning their thin chorus along the ridge. A reminder that not all responses are supernatural, but still, there's that memory of the faint-to-no answer you heard earlier, drifting between trees where no porch light burned. The man squints at you, as though measuring whether you're the type to test rules just to see what happens. He finally sets the knife aside and rummages inside the door, returning with a small applewood charm. It's not fancy, just a sliver cut into a spiral and rubbed smooth by hand. "Carry this," he says. Won't stop him, but it'll make you easier to lose in the dark. You take it, warm. Even though his hand was cold, something inside you, the skeptical part, the part raised on ghost shows and internet threads, wants to laugh. But you don't, because the porch feels charged, and the old man's silence says more than his words ever could. He leans close. And remember, if you hear whistling behind you, don't turn. The rules cling to you as you step back onto the road. The woods breathe against your shoulders. Whistle, and the night will whistle back. Ignore it, and maybe the silence will swallow your mistake whole. But the silence doesn't last. Somewhere down the ridge, soft and steady, comes that to no answer again.